The North Sea collision between a cargo ship and an oil tanker saw the two vessels burn through the night. Come the morning, the search for a missing crew member was called off. By the afternoon, it was confirmed the toxic substance sodium cyanide was not on board as first thought. But one of the questions that still remains is just how did this collision happen? Well, I'm joined now by Sal Mercogliano, a shipping expert who joins us from North Carolina. Sal, thank you so much for joining us. Just first of all, Sal, in your experience, what factors are there that could have been behind this incident?
Well, usually in shipping incidences come down to two factors, either a mechanical issue or a human issue. And it doesn't appear so long the container ship that ran into Stena Immaculate had any mechanical issues whatsoever. So it appears to be a human error.
So I saw on your YouTube channel, Sal, you talked about the autopilot function of the Solon. Could you go into a bit more detail about that, please, and how that might have led to this?
Sure. So Salong is a feeder vessel. It's a very small container ship that kind of makes its way by going between ports very quickly. Very small crew on board, about 14. So this ship travels quickly, offloads quickly, and makes its money moving around. This ship was on probably an autopilot, a system that incorporates GPS, the global positioning system, and navigation systems. And because of the minimal manning on crewing, you would use an autopilot to drive the vessel. This ship has gone up and down this route about half a dozen times, the exact spot where it ran the Stena Immaculate, about 6 times over the past year. So the concept here, and not a very far leap, is to believe that the crew, the mate on watch who's up on the bridge, was negligent basically, was not paying attention, was not observing the rules of the road, monitoring his radar or her radar, and basically just looking out the window, and a collision occurred.
So we saw that when the Solon collided with the Stena Immaculate, it was still going at a degree of knots. It didn't slow down at all. What's the explanation for that, essentially, do you think?
Yeah, it appears to be that the ship was not cognizant of the fact that it was steaming into an anchorage. Normally, ships will have their radar system, a collision avoidance system that is set to go off when ships are on a collision course or when ships enter a certain area. Obviously, that did not happen. We don't know exactly what happened on the bridge of the Salong. It's going to take the investigation, the rebuilding of the events, the interviews with the crew, and the recovery of the vessel data recorder to know. But right now, it does appear to be an incident that's really on the onus of the Salong. Stena Immaculate at anchor could not do anything to avoid this accident.
So this is obviously your area of expertise, Sal. You see sort of hundreds of thousands of these journeys every day. How unlikely was it that this happened? I mean, how worried should we be, essentially, that this might happen again? How many other near misses like this around the world do you think are happening every day?
Well, shipping has become safer over the years. I mean, if we look at the last 10 years, the number of accidents have decreased remarkably. However, because of the volume of cargo we ship and the velocity, how fast we have to move cargo, when we do have accidents, they tend to be on a much grander scale than they have been in the past. It's not unusual for 100,000 vessels sailing on the world's oceans to have accidents. But what we see here is a ship that's on a very tight schedule sailing from Scotland down to Rotterdam, has to be on berth at a certain time, or else it's going to lose money. And ships don't like to deviate from their courses because that takes them further on their distance. They burn more fuel. It's all about efficiency and being as economical as you can. So unfortunately, we are going to see accidents as long as humans are involved, and even with mechanical, you can't automate our way out of this. This really requires a human element so that they can observe and maneuver around anchored vessels, as in this case.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I guess the question a lot of people will have is, in the 21st century, in the technological age, is there not a sort of technological system in place that could help prevent something like this when two ships come that close together?
They're in place now. I mean, you can set systems on board to announce alarms to let you know that a collision is going to happen. But unfortunately, you can mute them. The systems may not be operational. I mean, this is all going to take an inspection to determine what kind of condition Salong was in, what was her status in her last inspection. Are they maintaining the maintenance? And more importantly, are they keeping a prudent watch up on the bridge of the vessel. But again, these small feeder ships, which are absolutely essential for moving cargo in and around Europe, are really an unsung vessel that does a lot of work. Unfortunately, the crew, 14 crew members on a ship that size, it becomes very tiring very quickly, and we are really overextending our merchant mariners in some ways. That's been going on since COVID.
So we've just had some breaking news in the last couple of minutes, Sal, that someone's been arrested in relation to this incident. Do you imagine that might have been the person that was supposed to be on watch?
I would assume so. They're going to find out who is on the bridge at that time. They were charged with maintaining due diligence. There's a lot of people talking about, well, maybe the ship's GPS was spoofed. Understand that while you may be able to distort a ship's position, you still have the old reliable radar. And more importantly, you've got a pair of eyeballs looking out that front window to see what is in front of you. So there are, methods that we've used before we had automation, GPS to navigate vessels. I would assume this would be either the crew member who is up on the bridge or the ship's master.
And just lastly, Sal, what kind of impact will a catastrophe of this magnitude have on international shipping?
Well, there are rules in place right now for bridge standing and watch standing. So the question is, were those rules being enforced? I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get any new rules to really require it more than what we have. But, if this ship was not maintaining the proper watch standing, if there was not the required number of people up on the bridge, if the people were not doing the job assigned to them, then this comes down on the ship's master, the owner, and the insurance. And obviously what we're looking at here is a massive insurance issue. You have not just the two vessels involved, but all the cargo that's not moving in and out of the Humber right now, and all the disruptions that this is causing.
Sal Mercogliano, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.